You might hate getting up in the early morning, but you don't have to. You can change that. I switched up something that I used to almost hate to something that I love now. And I don't know if it's exactly because I relocated to another country, but I can sure show you the transition from then till now. I think this realization came from me thinking back of growing up in my neighborhood back in St. Louis, Missouri in the US, where I never really saw, or at least recognized as much as I was able to, the benefits of getting up in the morning. I always linked getting up early in the morning with doing something that I didn't want to do or seeing something that I didn't want to see, such as going to school. Now, eventually I did become one of those students that actually loved being at school, but that was for different reasons that I can talk about in another video. But I linked having to get up early in the morning to doing things that I didn't want to do. Like going to school, or back when I was being forced to go to church, which you don't have to get up super early, I realized that, to do those things. Or maybe accomplishing some kind of to-do list that, my mother had for me. From my youthful perspective, I linked early mornings with doing things I didn't want to do. In my mind also back then, I also didn't think that there was much to see being up early in the morning. And when you're young, teens and 20s, all you really want is stimulation. You don't know why, you don't know what kind, you don't know in the form of what. You just want to be stimulated all the time, all the fucking time. So for a great period, you would not catch me getting up early in the morning, rising early in the morning, because I just didn't see the benefits. Moving on into adulthood, early mornings meant going to work. Yet another thing that I just don't want to be up early to have to do. So you can kind of see the trend and the kind of brain training that was going on with me as I moved through life. I linked early mornings with just doing stuff that I just didn't want to do. So it became commonplace for me to sleep in when I could and just never be up early. Like, for what? So let me fast forward a little bit to when I moved out of the US. Not long after moving out of the US, things started changing about me. I started wanting to be more independent. I started wanting to take more control of my life. And without breaking off into too many branches of the tree, somewhere in that mix, I became a content creator, right? Content creating, amongst a few other things, became my main thing. So for a great period of time, I no longer had to report to a place, meaning a job, in my early mornings. So I kind of claimed my time back, which was wonderful. When all of this time got put in my lap, I started doing things with it. I started figuring out how I can do the most things with all of this time that I'd been granted. Because I didn't just want to turn into a bum. I didn't want to turn into one of those people that regrets all that time I had because I didn't use it, because I didn't put it to work for me. So what I started doing is I started working out, started getting more exercise. I started a routine of me having my own shifts of work when it came to content creating and doing all the other stuff I was doing at the time. And with those things, I also learned to sometimes just enjoy time. So I would often find myself just going out for a walk, or just going somewhere and sitting and people watching and just chilling and relaxing and enjoying the time. Because I can tell y'all right now, it ain't nothing like claiming and owning your time. Trading my time for money and really only benefiting someone else, it just kills me. Again, I can talk about that in another video. So as I enjoyed all this newfound time, doing all the things that I had come to love and enjoy doing with this newfound time, I learned better scheduling, personal scheduling. So there was workout time. There was a time to do that. Recording time, editing time. There was a time to do those things. There was a time for sleep. And sleep got better because it didn't have to be disturbed by anyone but myself. And I think that's very important, because as sleep got better, I didn't want to sleep as late, which led me to eventually getting up early in the mornings, starting my day and getting things done. A lot of the time, getting tons of stuff done before many people even wake up. Definitely before they even have lunch. And that felt great, felt wonderful. And that's kind of how I got to the point of loving early mornings. Now let me tell you some of the things I like about the early mornings. Any of you who is an early riser, you know this, but in the early mornings, I'm talking crack of dawn, maybe even before you see any daylight, it's so calm, it's so quiet, it's so peaceful. I personally think this is probably the best time of the day. There's just something so calming about everything and everyone still sleeping except you and maybe the birds. I like how here some bakeries might be open, so you may smell fresh pastries and bread. So you combine the fresh early morning air with the chit chat of the birds, the peacefulness and the smell of fresh baked goods, and you got yourself a great start to the day. So if you're saying to yourself you don't really have a reason to be up early in the morning, Let me tell you some of the things I do when I get up early in the morning, even if I don't have to. And keep in mind, this is coming from someone who had a choice. I understand everybody's situation is different. One of my favorite things to do early in the morning is brew some coffee. I love the sound of only my coffee maker in the morning. If I make coffee sometime in the later morning or the afternoon, there's stuff going on. Cars driving outside, kids walking along the street going to school. There's just a little more noise as the morning progresses. So there's something that my brain registers and picks up on about hearing just the sound of my coffee brewing early in the morning and nothing else. Sipping coffee by myself and just giving myself a moment to think and just wake up at my own pace. I just love it. I love it so much. Another wonderful thing that I like to do, and I typically only do in the early mornings, is my workout. I don't know what it is about working out any other time of the day, but I'm just not the hugest fan of it as much as I am working out early in the morning. If you know, you know. Working out early in the morning, getting that good energy going, there is just something about it. And I think I pretty much locked myself into only wanting to work out in the early morning. Now don't get me wrong, you gotta get your workout in whenever you get your workout in. I get that. If you have to do it after work or before work or on your lunch break or later in the evening even, do that. Personally, working out in the early morning feels best to me. Another thing that feels good to me is making a simple breakfast early in the morning. Just making something simple. I don't want to get in there and get all heavy with it, be in the kitchen for long, or in front of a stove and stuff like that, but just getting in there, having something simple, maybe to go along with the coffee. It's another thing I like to do early in the morning. Now here's something that I like doing or sometimes have to do in the early mornings that I know is going to be specific to me or people like me, but sometimes I like to start my work early, whether it's scripting or writing, editing, sometimes even recording. Sometimes videos require me to be up in the early morning for a specific shot. So sometimes I like to get up, get out if I have to, and do some work early. And those 4 things that I just named off can be quite a load getting up early in the morning. So that's why I said sometimes so early I do a lot of stuff before most people even begin their day. But there is one more thing that I just recently started doing within the last 5-6 months or something like that. And that's catching up on some of my favorite shows. Now I don't get into watching television a lot. I do watch a decent amount of films, but that's because I'm a fan of film. There are some episodic shows that I watch that really, grab me and pull me in and get me watching it and wanting to watch them as they release them on a weekly basis. But I get behind because there's other stuff that I'm doing. So sometimes in the early mornings, I'll catch up on my shows. Maybe I'll do that while I'm sipping my coffee. So on this final point, I just want to bring about one thing that you can definitely count on when you get up early, especially in fairer weather times. This absolutely gives me peace. And if you can't find any other reason to get up early in the morning out of everything that I talked about already, this might be something you probably want to check out. I don't know, but beautiful sunrises. There's nothing like watching that daylight peak just above the horizon to eventually see the sun make its appearance, rising up through the sky slowly, notifying everyone that the day has begun. There's nothing like that to me. If you ain't seen that yet, I don't know what you're doing, especially if you've been around for a while. Now, I know a lot of y'all are like, nah, bro, I'm sleeping in forever. And I feel you. Sleeping in feels good when it's rare. I used to sleep in a lot too, but when I didn't have to, I didn't. And I'm gonna tell you, like I said in the beginning of the video, you don't really have to hate early mornings. There really is lots to enjoy. We just gotta take a moment to see it. Maybe someone has mental health struggles because of lack of peace in their life, because of all the noise going on in the world. Try waking up early in the morning with just you and your thoughts. Maybe see if that does anything at all. I don't know. That's gonna do it for this video, but speaking of mental health, check out how I improved mine in this video right here.